Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
This is a big treat. I know it's a treat for me, and I think it'll be a treat for people who used to listen once a month to Stephen Lewis, who is the co-founder of the Energetic Matrix Church of Consciousness, and we had the most wonderful, very philosophical conversation. So now, the vice president, who has been with Stephen for so many years, Roberta Hladek, is absolutely going to catch us up on what she's doing now. I want to just give you a little history. Roberta met Stephen Lewis in 1987 after being injured in a car accident and having a natural attraction to alternative therapies. Through a personal referral, she consulted Stephen for help. At the time, Stephen had his private practice in which he incorporated acupuncture and homeopathy in conjunction with subtle energy research, physics, oriental healing, arts, philosophy, and spirituality. And they, of course, were buddies. They were there all the time, working on the energy and the computer, finding ways to help people. And so now that Stephen is no longer in this state anyway, he's not here with us that we can see him, but we know he's here. We just can't grab a hold of him. Roberta has joined me on the radio, and we're going to be doing this with her. So after that introduction, Roberta, did I make any mistakes?
No, you didn't. Thank you, Anita. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I first heard about Stephen through his book, and that was a wonderful, wonderful way, and I read it, and I couldn't get over the fact of what he could do with that woman that had cancer that really had no hope, and through his the energetic world that he found or invented on the computer, he was able to help her. And is she's still living today?
I believe so, yes.
Amazing, isn't it? Okay, so tell me, when you get up in the morning and you go to work, what are you doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Kind of the chief cook and bottle washer.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, really. Well, I run the office, the day-to-day operations, and since Stephen, my partner, is no longer in the physical, I have taken over his position of testing. And I was very blessed that for all the years that he and I used to be a couple years ago, we were together for almost 12 years, and we started, we kind of increased his practice, and we were full force into that, and then we started the AIM program with the third partner, which is Evan Slauson. And the two of them wrote the book together about our journey. But I was very lucky that all those years of being with him, he trained me and taught me pretty much as he could of what he knew and how to test, so that I had really taken on his position because he really wanted to retire and he wasn't telling anyone. Back in about October, I was pretty much doing most of the testing and finding new frequencies with him kind of overseeing things, and then he kind of let me loose. And so I was really blessed that I could take over for him, and we had been working on research and things. So that's what I'm doing. In the morning when I get up, I come in here and I get everything rolling, and then I go back to the computer and I do testing, and I'm trying to further our research that we didn't have time to finish. So different ways of testing to get to the bottom of the barrel, as he always said. He always wanted to get to the bottom. He was kind of one of those, he didn't have a real good business module because he felt that people should come to him, they should get whatever they needed, and then they shouldn't have to come back.
Yeah, he used to say that often. My last guest is a woman who founded a huge Alzheimer's community care organization here in South Florida, and I don't know if I even spoke to him about Alzheimer's. I don't remember that, Roberta. But is that part of the testing?
Well, what we do when we quote-unquote test is when a new participant comes on the program, we're testing for their life force, which is their inner strength to overcome adversities, diseases, etc. And then I'm also doing 5 months and 11th month checks, and those are people that are currently on the program. At 5 months, we test to make sure that they're accepting the energy and they're moving, their life force is moving up. And then we also do an 11th-month check, and that's to make sure that they've hit the 100 mark, which is their life force 100. If they haven't hit 100, then I need to test further and find out why. There's so many frequencies that are attributed to Alzheimer's. Unfortunately, like a lot of people will say, well, do you have the frequency of Alzheimer's on the program? We have that frequency on the program, but we're finding that there's a lot of layering that attributes to that other components. And so we're always trying to find those. So we did a lot of work with, we have a lot of participants on the program that have been diagnosed with things like that. We're not medical, so we don't really get into what the diagnosis is. What our aim with the AIM program is to create a better life for you to create your better life through the self-healing and removing those energetic blocks and be able to see your path more clearly and increase your spirituality, your consciousness, your life force, because we're all living longer now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're telling us that our life is increasing, and so our goal with AIM is to find as many frequencies to help us all live that longer life to the best of our ability and be as strong as we can and live the best life. Because what's the good in living long if, we can't get around or, we're having challenges?
It's interesting. You used to always say before the program, well, I checked your life force. You're doing fine and your husband's doing fine. And he always would do that before the show. But I always told him, well, I know because I am fine and I feel that way. So I have been on the program for many, many years, and I always attribute it that, I am a force, and I appreciate so much having had Stephen, and now, of course, having you at the helm there, making sure that not only my husband and I, by the way, my husband's 92, will be 93 in October, and he's inventing things. He's just going crazy with things, and so I always tell people, and they say, well, how are you doing this, Bill? I said, well, it's called the AIM program. That's when I get a chance to talk to them about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely, because we have not only all those disease frequencies and flus and colds and whatever, those frequencies are on there, but we have the anti-aging frequencies. And when we think anti-aging, we're thinking of like all the wrinkle creams we see on TV and all whatever. But what we're really talking about is the inner workings of our bodies to the anti-aging of our organs so that our organs stay in tip-top shape so that we feel great and we can do everything we do. And then the skin is like your last to heal, skin and hair and that kind of thing. Because I used to always tell him, can you just find something for gray hair and wrinkles? Go. And then I used to say, well, if you could find something so I don't have to go to the gym and I can just lay around and look great. And he'd say, yeah, well,
no,
you're so shallow, and I said, no, you know how he was. He would always talk that way.
Right, no. Yeah, but...
He's probably laughing at us now.
Yeah. Well, the story, though, really is the people, of course, who are in serious situations and who are not, don't know if they will live or how they can continue. And it's the inspiration and it's the healing oneself, which he always used to talk about. And it's very hard to tell someone, at least for a layperson like I am, well, you just have to heal yourself. Well, they look at me, what do you mean? What do I have to do? What do I have to eat? I said, no, that's not really it. I said, you are energy, and that's all it is, so you have to get on the right path. And what you need to do is to call the AIM program and see if that's how you have to do it. So am I making a mistake?
No, not at all. The AIM program is a tool to help us. And a lot of people say, well, if I can do it myself, what do I need you for?
Oh, right.
And I say, well, if you could sit and focus on yourself 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, go for it. But I myself have to work. I, have responsibilities. I have things I need to do. You got to eat. You got to work out. You got to, pay bills, what have you, drive kids around, whatever it is that you're doing. So what the AIM program does is it makes us focus. There's a part of us within our bodies that knows what's right and what's wrong within us. And when we're testing, that's what we're telling the computer in a language that the tester can understand. So the AIM program is that tool that helps us to overcome all these adversities, whatever they happen to be. It might be something like some people say, well, I'm not sick. What do I need the AIM program for? Well, it helps us to focus and to clear out all the cobwebs and find our purpose in life. And I'm really an advocate of that because I'm a true testimonial to that. When I first met Stephen, I was in a job that I could not stand. I was in the corporate America, and I had the 401k, and I had insurance, and I had all that stuff. I was making great money, hated it. I was driving 60 miles to work in traffic, 60 miles home, just insane. I was married, but in a relationship that was really going down the drain. It just wasn't happening. I was married too young, I think. Just all these things were attributing to it. And when I started working with him with the remedies and things, all of a sudden things started changing within me, and I started seeing opportunities. And I made a lot of changes. I moved, got divorced, and changed jobs all in 1 year.
Oh, really? Where were you living?
I don't advocate that.
Where were you living, Roberta?
Well, I was living in California, Southern California, but I was living in the outskirts of the valley, out in canyon country. And I ended up moving down south to the beach. Ended up moving to Malibu, and it was like my dream place to ever live, and I just didn't know how I'd ever do it. And the opportunity just arose, and my mom would say, because my mom had been divorced, and so she had 7 kids, and she wanted us all in those little cubby holes so she didn't have to worry about us. So she thought I was in that cubby hole. So now I'm not in that cubby hole, and she's like, what are you doing?
Right.
But it was really interesting that I found my path because, when I was making those changes, I didn't think twice about them. They were just happening, and I didn't feel like that it was the wrong decision to make. When I quit my corporate job, they were saying, you're never going to find a job like this. And I said, well, let me try. You never know. And I ended up going to work for Steve, and now here we are.
Right. And how long ago was that?
That was 1987 when I met him. And I started working with him, I think it was like in 1988.
Absolutely amazing. And it's been, like a free fall probably for you. I mean, it's been, is your mother, she's still alive?
Yes. My mom is, she'd probably kill me for this, but she's 86. And she's running around. She drives a Mustang convertible. And
I love it.
She swims an hour every day. And
really?
Constantly with friends and doing all sorts of stuff. They go dancing every night. I mean, she only takes vitamins. And she attributes it all because she used to work for us. And she
really?
worked for about 8 years, yeah.
Now, that's interesting. So here her daughter gets out of her little cubbyhole, finds this new big, I don't want to call it a cubbyhole, and she even comes to work for you.
Yeah, and she absolutely adored Steve. So she worked for us for, I think it was about 8 years, and then she retired, and she moved to Surprise, Arizona, which is where she is now. And she's just, doing great. Feels great. She looks awesome. I mean, she looks like she's probably 70 years old, I guess, maybe younger. She has men chasing her, and here you go.
So that's a real success story. But let's get back to you personally. So, but you were in a major accident, and that was a real problem for you, I'm sure. Because what happened to you?
Well, it was technically a head-on collision. I was in a sports car, and we were hit by a bigger car. I was lucky that I didn't break anything. Mostly what we were, both me and my the person that I was with, was my husband at the time, we both had just like bumps and bruises and things like that. I bruised the kidney and bumped my knee where I ended up, I tore the ACL in my knee, so I had to have surgery on that. But that was pretty much what it was, but it was pretty life-changing, I will say. You know, an accident is never a fun thing, and we were just blessed that we were wearing seatbelts and didn't go through the windshield or anything like that. But it was mostly bumps and bruises. So my stepfather picked me. He came to the hospital, and he said, "I'm taking you right over to this guy," and that was Stephen.
And he knew him before.
Yeah, my family my birth father was Native American, half Native American. So we had always used natural remedies and natural healings and things like that. So, and my stepfather, oddly enough, was similar to that, and he always had back problems. So he had found Stephen, and he said, "I'm taking you right over to this guy. Don't say anything. Just let him do his thing. Don't ask any questions." I went, okay. So he put me on this machine and made all these noises and gave me some bottles to take and said, "Take these bottles and go home and relax, and, you know, you're going to feel a whole lot better."
And he was a chiropractor at that time, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a chiropractor, and he also was practicing herbal. He was an herbologist. He did acupuncture and naturopathy. So he was doing all this kind of natural stuff. So when he gave me the homeopathic remedies, I went home and took them, and I got to say that within a few weeks, I was feeling so much better. And then I just kept feeling better and better. But mainly, I think it was a lot of things in me were changing. And I don't say this to scare anyone, but things do change. And I saw things a lot more clearly. You know, it seemed like somebody lifted a shade.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you start looking at your life and you go, you know, I'm not really happy with what I'm doing. I'm going through the motions. I felt like a hamster on the wheel. So I started opening myself up for opportunities, and that's when things started to come my way, changes and things. And I didn't have to make the changes, but I felt in my heart of hearts, you know, that you got to be happy with yourself. And if you don't make yourself happy, you can't make anyone else happy. So I took that road and made my changes, and I ended up working for Stephen.
Let me tell everybody, if you want more information on this, why don't you go to energeticmatrix.com, or you can also do the AIM. It's called aimprogram.com, correct? aimprogram.com. And you'll find out a lot more about what this whole program consists of and why my husband and I have been on it for years. And thousands of people have been on this, including Wayne Dyer, who, of course, has also passed away. But I just have to tell you, it's unique. We've been so privileged to have Stephen on the show for so many years, and now Roberta. This is really exciting for me today. So tell people a little bit about when you talk about energy research using the computer. Can you kind of share that in a very simple way for people to understand that?
Well, what we're doing is we have a computer that we have all these frequencies loaded into it. And what we're doing is we're using the computer to try and find and research different things that are challenges for all of us, whether it be, Alzheimer's or people that are feeling depressed because of things that are going on in the world, whatever it happens to be. And our whole goal is to put as many frequencies in the computer that will help all of us. Because once they're in the computer, then they're sent out to all of us that are on the AIM program. So that's where my research comes in. And on our website, we have a picture. We actually go through a whole testing series. Stephen did this with a participant, and she was a new participant on the program. So he goes through a whole testing so you can see what the computer looks like, how we test, and the motions that it went through for this person. And it's just for demonstration. We don't do that on a daily basis, but it was for demonstration so we could see and show that. And then we do have also the trays, so you can kind of see what we talk about when we say the trays.
Now, that's important, that the way that he finds, when you first join, you send a photograph. Is that still the way we do it?
Yes, you do. You complete an application and you send in a photograph. And the photograph is what we test. And a lot of times that's where our minds get stuck. We think about a photograph and we're going, yeah, but I'm in Indiana and you're in Las Vegas. How is that going to work? Well, we have to remember that our photograph holds our energy. And if you can remember back when you were a kid reading National Geographic, they would always have pictures. The Aborigines didn't want their pictures taken, and they would write articles about that. It was because they knew it holds their energy, and they didn't want someone having their energy. So what we are is we're like molecules of energy, kind of like an aura. We've all seen where we've taken an aura picture and you see the blues and the greens and the orange and yellow, whatever, of our aura. And someone reads it and tells you what's going on with you. Well, it's kind of similar to that. Your energy is held in your photograph. And what we do is we put that photograph on the tray and we test that photograph using the lymphatic meridian, which is a meridian right by your thumb. And I don't use another person. I use myself. That's the way I was taught. So it's hard for me to test someone else. But I put the photograph on the tray, and as long as it's, and this kind of gets technical, but as long as it's in the middle of the circuit, then I have to hold the ground. So if it's in between me and the computer, then we're good to go. So as I'm holding the ground and using the lymphatic meridian, I can test you and test your life force and make sure that you're going to be accepting of the energies on the program. And that's how we do it. And then there's times when maybe someone has a challenge of some sort and they've been on the program a while. Then we may test them to see what the challenge is and see if it's something not in our database. And if it's not in the database, then my job is to find what that frequency is. And we have a program that we use to try and find that frequency to add to the AIM program.
And if something really happens one day and you found something you were not even expecting, do you send up balloons and go crazy? Oh, wow, we just got it.
Well, not really. But it is pretty exciting when we do find something that's not in the database, because then you think, wow, if it's not in the database, then, and I find what the emotional component is. And sometimes, because I know for myself, I always feel the emotional part first. So if I'm feeling maybe a little sad one day or maybe irritable or something like that or overwhelmed, I usually know something's come up. I'm clearing something or, there's something going on. If it's not, that, I got in a fight with my other half in the morning or woke up on the wrong side of the bed or whatever.
Right. And do you have a dog? Or I think he had cats, didn't he? Didn't Stephen have cats?
Stephen does. He has 2 cats. And and Eileen, his wife, still has both the kitties. And Buster, it was his love. And Buster's been a little bit sad.
Yeah.
But, we've been putting him on for certain frequencies, and hoping to help him out. We've had him taking some Bach flowers to try and help him with the grieving process. And he's doing really well. And we have an office cat here in our office. And I have 2 cats at home, too.
So
we're cat people.
Right. And, of course, I think you have your animals on the AIM program, do you not?
Absolutely. And when you read the book, that Fozzie, which was Steve and I's cat from years ago, he passed away. But Fozzie was the first person with, he had his life force of 100, and I think it went even higher than that on there. He talks about Fozzie all the time in the book. So.
Right. And so is there another, well, let's talk about Evan. Tell me what Evan's doing now with all of you.
Well, Evan has always been we always said we had the heart, the soul, and the brain. And Stephen was the soul, I was the heart, and Evan was the brain. And Evan does all the technical work, keeping the computers running, making sure that the AIM computers are working to their top capacity, and making sure, like in California, we always had to have backup systems because of earthquakes, and we still have those backup systems. So he's in charge of pretty much keeping all of us running, all of our computers and stuff, and he does a great job at that. He is very technical, and so he has a different take on all this from the technical side of it.
I see. Well, it's and is Eileen going to remain in the Great Northwest? Is that where she's going to stay?
Yeah, she's going to stay up there. She's really happy to be up there. They had a home up there, and so and her daughter lives up there, so she wants to stay where her family is, so she'll stay up there.
Okay. And what is she doing now? Is she a part of any of this?
Eileen's kind of like my sister.
Okay.
So she and she is my sister, just from another mother and father, I guess you could say.
Uh-huh.
But she's always going to be involved with AIM. She's going to continue on the program. Her and I are going to be doing some work with crystals and crystal healing, and working with different frequencies of crystals to put on the AIM program. That's one of our research projects with she and I, and she's fabulous with crystals. She is really, really good with that. And that was something that the three of us had been working on before Stephen passed on. So we're going to continue that as soon as we get everything we're starting to mellow out and everybody get in sync again.
Right.
So,
I'm sure it's been very difficult. But Roberta Hladek is the co-founder of Energetic Matrix Church of Consciousness, EMC Square. And if you want more information, call 877-500-3622 and go to the website aimprogram.com or energeticmatrix.com. You can actually buy the book. If you call them, they'll send one out to you. And I want to thank you. This has been so joyful. I was so excited when he said that you were going to be able to be on, and we'll talk to you next month.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, Anita. Have a great day, and thank you for having me on.
It was my pleasure, Roberta. All right, bye.
Bye-bye.